Publishing platforms. I'm sure you're all very aware of the different publishing platforms. Obtaining an ISBN and copyright. So I'm sure you're all very aware of what an ISBN is. If you decide to use Amazon KDP, you can get an ISBN free of charge. I'm pretty sure they will just give you one. I'm almost 100% sure of that because I was just looking at KDP a couple weeks ago. You can also purchase ISBNs. Bowker is what's used in the United States, but this international standard book number, it's the book's unique ID card. It helps with cataloging, sales tracking. Each book format needs its own ISBN. So for example, if you have a digital version of your book, that will have an ISBN. If you have a print-on-demand version, that will have a different ISBN. So each version of your book requires its own ISBN. You can secure your ISBN and register your copyright. In this process, it's critically important. Each protects your work and allows you to track and market your book. It's also related to proper metadata that ensures that your book is discoverable by readers and retailers. And so how do you obtain an ISBN? It's this unique identifier can be purchased on, and again, in the PDF that I shared with you all, I have all the links for different countries. I have the United States, Canada, Australia, and I think also international. So I have all the links for different countries. So for example, our Canadian viewers tonight would not get their ISBN from the same site. They would not apply for copyright at the same site as those of us who are in the United States. There are different websites. So yeah, and obtaining an ISBN, like I said, Bowker in the United States and the UK, Nielsen in Canada, issued for free, which is great, by the Library and Archives of Canada. Like I said, Bowker charges, and you can buy like batches of ISBNs. So for example, you could buy 100 ISBNs all at once. That's what the publishing company does that I work with, that I write for. He just buys a whole package of ISBNs, and it's hundreds of, I'm not sure exactly what he spent, but I know it's pretty pricey. It's probably hundreds of dollars. As I said, probably you're not going to want to buy 100 ISBNs. You're going to just probably want to get a couple, depending on how many versions of your book you are producing. Meaning if you have the digital version, the print-on-demand version, that sort of thing. And again, in the workbook, I've included all the links to all these various websites on how you can obtain ISBNs, how you can register your book. As I said, the copyright is critical for protecting your intellectual property. It gives you exclusive rights to reproduce, distribute, and sell your work. Make sure you register your copyright with the appropriate agency in your region, in your country. This is, again, very important, and it's very much dependent on where you live, which country you're registering your copyright. It's just critical. We've got to safeguard. We have rights to what we create. So that's pretty much that. And does anybody? Let me check the chat. Anybody have any? Oh, it's no problem. She said, I'm so sorry I can't stay for the entire presentation. I hope I understand that the recording will be made available. Yes, Ty said he will make this recording available in your member in the group. So this recording will be available. Anybody that entered late, just watch the recording. It's a lot of information, and I'm just trying to kind of package it so it's not totally boring. That's why I created the PDF workbook. So I've got all the links. Everything is in that workbook. Much more information than I've included in the slides, just to give you a really comprehensive view. And any one of these topics could literally be a class on its own. And Janet says, I'm writing an old school series about a young governess going to a handsome lord's house. How many pages should each book be? That's a great question, Janet. So it really depends on how detailed you want the plot to be, the character development. For example, there's an author, and I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but her series, each book is around 800 or 900 pages. These are very, very dense books. I'm not sure how in the world she must be, the fact that her character development, the plot, it is so incredibly intricate and amazing. I can't imagine writing a 900-page novel. But I would say on average, depending on the content, the character development, moving from book to book and how the series flows, I would say you could probably go between 250 to 350 pages. I mean, I think a good average, between 3 and 370, 250 to 370, let's say. Going beyond that, it's like you're putting two books into one book. So you could get away with a shorter book around maybe 250 to 300 pages because you're breaking it up into a series. Or, as you all know, there are people now who are writing these little serials, which they're called like short books or serials, and you get like literally you pay for 99 cents or $2 for a chapter. So they produce a chapter that might be 20 to 50 pages, and then they release it, say, once every couple weeks, once a month, once every couple months. But there's so many different ways you can kind of envision or create. There's no set length. So if you wanted to just release digital chapters, you could do that. If you want to do more of a traditional series, I would say 250 to 350 per book pages. That's pretty standard. You could get away with closer to 200 if you want to really kind of I guess make the series longer, have more books produced. It's really, I mean, really, it's such an open playing field at this point. It's really your preference. And again, I would love to see what you're producing and creating, because as I said, it just excites me so much. Oh, and somebody else just entered. Okay, and so Mary asked, when you say your brand, what exactly does that mean? That's a great question. So think about some famous authors. For example, Stephen King. What is his brand? And of course you all are muted, so you can't really. So would a Canadian ISBN number be valid when marketing it in the US? I would say yes, it would be, but I would double check. You might have to get a United States ISBN depending on the platform. So for example, if you're putting your book on the United States Amazon website, because you have a Canadian Amazon, we have a US Amazon, you may have to get an ISBN in the United States. And it depends where you're selling your book, Sharon. It really depends. Like if say you had a book in Canada that had a Canadian ISBN and you were selling it on your own author's website, for example, and you were shipping to the United States, I mean, you may not do this, but for example, it really depends on the platform and what the requirements are. So that would be something I would dig a little bit deeper into to figure out, based on the platform that you're promoting the book on, based on where you're selling the book, if it's digital versus a print on demand versus this or that, if you're selling it yourself, that kind of thing. So that's something I would double check with your Canadian source where you get the Canadian ISBN. They would be able to tell you that. And they'll probably say, it depends on the platform where you're selling your book. But you're right. Yes, crime thriller, Stephen King, horror suspense thriller. Exactly. Thanks, everyone. Stephen King has a brand, and his brand is very evident on social media. He's very vocal on Twitter, what is now X. He has a brand. So some of these more famous authors clearly have a brand. There are some that write romance, and I'm off the top of my head, I can't think of, but I'm sure we can all kind of visualize a certain brand of especially authors who have produced many, many books over the years. They have a brand. So if you look at their website, for example, Stephen King's website will not look like Lisa Gardner, for example. She's one of I enjoy reading Lisa Gardner books. Her website looks maybe different from Stephen King's. She's more of a mystery crime, kind of a thriller author, but Stephen King is really horror or suspense. So their branding is very, very specific. So when they market their books, Nora Roberts, that's a great example. So Nora Roberts is an excellent example of someone who has a brand. She's got a lot of books out there. If you saw a cover of a Nora Roberts book, you could almost maybe guess that it was written by her just based on the way her covers are designed. the title of her books. So these authors are very, very memorable, that you notice them if you're in a bookstore or the library. I go to the library. Yeah, Danielle Steele, that's another great example. Thank you, Marianne. Those are Nora Roberts, Danielle Steele are great examples. So I go to the library every Saturday morning, and I'm just walking through the library, and I'll glance over, I'll see a book, and without even seeing the author, I'll be like, oh, wow, I didn't realize so-and-so. Like Dean Koontz is one that's very kind of noticeable or memorable. I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't realize they just published a book. And I can often just look at the cover. They have a certain brand. So Sydney Sheldon, that's another great one. We know that they have very carefully cultivated their brand to speak to their audience. So somebody that reads Danielle Steele may not be interested in reading Stephen King. So that carefully cultivated image, the thinking about the audience, somebody that, for example, may write a Christian series of fiction, or like they call them kind of clean, cozy mysteries. There's sometimes somebody's not, who's maybe more geared toward reading clean books that don't have, bad language or scenes that are a little risque. They wouldn't be interested in reading a certain genre, or they wouldn't be attracted to another author's series, that kind of thing. So it's a very carefully cultivated image, branding. That's branding. I hope that kind of clarifies it. Obviously, we're all, none of us are Stephen Kings. We wouldn't be in this training tonight if we were, probably. But I don't, when we think about branding, though, it's still important for all of us to think of our branding, because and we'll talk about this in a minute, about creating our website, our social media presence. So oftentimes with marketing and branding, they say kind of stick to the same kind of maybe color scheme, or you'll see Instagram posts where an influencer might use the same kind of colors, the same kind of images, that kind of thing. Authors can do the same thing. And it all comes back to their brand and what they're kind of promoting, or what they're. Joyce Meyer, that's another great one. Thanks for these examples, you guys. I don't know, you tell me to think of an author, like a romance writer, and I'm totally blank. So but thanks for all of these great examples. All right, so yeah, so we can move on to the next slide here. So metadata and book discoverability. So again, this has to do with branding as well, and discoverability is how easy it is to find your book. Metadata is the information that describes your book. It makes it discoverable in databases, online stores, libraries, for example. Properly formatted metadata helps potential readers find your book. This includes the title and subtitle. Make sure your book's title and subtitle are clear, descriptive, and optimized for search engines. I don't think this is necessarily as applicable to fiction as it is to nonfiction. So in like, for example, for my audience, I very carefully consider the title and subtitle because the metadata is very important. So I would not, I have a workbook called the Trauma Recovery Workbook. That title is very clear what it's about. The subtitle is also very clear. It says exactly what's in the book. It's about recovering from trauma. That's what the book is about. I would not come up with a title that didn't have the word trauma in it, because trauma recovery is what the book is about. Fiction, again, titles are a little bit more, all over the place with fiction. But if you're writing nonfiction, the title and subtitle are critically important. The author's name, consistency again is key. So you want to use the same author name across all platforms to avoid confusion. So for example, all of my books are published under Angela Dole. I am no longer married, but I still have the name Dole. My kid's name is Dole, but my legal name is Smith. That's my maiden name. But I'm not going to now go by Angela Smith. Smith is very generic. Dole is much more memorable. So all of my books are published under my married name, and I've been divorced for 14 years, but I still hold on to that name just because consistency is important. If you were looking for Angela Smith, again, that's a very generic name. So my author name on Amazon and elsewhere is Angela Dole. So if you type Angela Dole into Google, a lot of my books start to come up on a lot of different platforms. So consistency is really important, and it makes it difficult if you get divorced and you don't want to, hold on to a name that may have, negative associations. But I think consistency is really important, and you do want to use the same name across all platforms. Some people use a pen name, and that too, is something to consider. Maybe you want to write under a pen name. Maybe you don't really feel comfortable using your name, or maybe your name is difficult to spell, or there's a lot of different factors to consider when you consider what name you want your book published under. Again, the ISBN, we already covered that for accurate cataloging and sales tracking. Your book's description is, again, very important. You need to write a very compelling description. It includes keywords relevant to your genre and subject matter. And I know you guys have all had a training in the past on the importance of keywords, so I won't get into all that. You want to choose keywords that the readers might use to search for your books. These should be included to improve discoverability. Oh, and somebody's coming in. Select appropriate categories and genres that accurately reflect your book's content. This helps place your book in the right sections online in online stores and libraries. So sometimes when I'm putting a book on Amazon, Amazon's categories are very strange, I think. I mean, in nonfiction, at least, it's not really, the categories for the field of mental health and psychology are not what I would intuitively think they would be. So the categories on Amazon are so, again, this could be a whole class on its own, and maybe you guys have had a training on this. But you really need to be thoughtful about the categories that you're choosing, depending on the platform. You need to clearly state your publication date to help with cataloging and eligibility for any awards or reviews. So you do need to choose a publication date. And, this may seem obvious, but you need to indicate the language of your book to ensure that it reaches the correct audience. And we'll talk, I didn't really go into how to get translations, but in the workbook, I have a whole section on international publications, getting your book translated, that kind of thing. I didn't go into it in detail in this training, just considering time. You want to upload a very high quality cover image that meets all the specifications of the different platforms. So you have to consider the size, whether or not it's fuzzy or pixelated. You just want your book to really stand out and have an exceptional image. The publisher information. So you want to include the name of your publishing company, even if it's your own self-publishing brand. So this makes your book a little, and you'll notice a lot of the print-on-demand books, and I'm just checking the chat. You'll notice a lot of books that are self-published have like a name of a publishing company. That's probably what the author established in order to publish their book, so that it is a publishing company. So you are your publishing company. And again, I've included many websites and tools for managing metadata in your workbook. So those of you that have just recently entered the training, there's a link in the chat for the 44-page workbook that I created, which it's got a lot of different links, a lot of additional information. You can check that out. The recording will be available in your group. And Mary says, let's see, I am also writing a second book dealing with 2 children whose cat dies. My third children's book is going to be a series of a 10-year-old and her parrot. Would I have series in colors like death books? What do you mean, would I have series in colors like death books? Does that mean kind of using color and then going to black and white? I'm not sure. If you could clarify that, Mary, that would be awesome. Bye, Kim. Thanks for coming. And hopefully, and I think she already left. But Mary, if you could just clarify your question, that'd be great. If you copyright your book in the US, do you need to also copyright it internationally? That's a great question. And as I said, in the end of the workbook, I have copyright information and laws. Yes, I think you would have to, but it depends on the country that you're getting it translated. So for example, if your book, you want to sell it in Germany and it's going to be translated into German, you would need to then get an ISBN that's specific. Yes, the recording will be available in your group. Ty did indicate that it will be available. So any of you that entered late, don't worry, you won't miss out. You will have access to the recording. But it really probably depends on the country, if you're getting it translated. There's a lot of different factors, and it's a lot of that is like legal information that is well beyond the scope of this training. But I did include links in the workbook so that you can dig deeper into that, if you are interested, and perhaps we'll even do a training at some point on that. But again, it's a little more complicated, a little too much information for this training tonight. We don't want to go do a 3-4 hour training, but that would be a training on its own, I think. That's a lot of, additional information. But there are links. I did include some information, so you can do a little digging if you are curious and interested in going that route. So publishing platforms and your author platform. Publishing platforms, I'm sure you're all very aware of the different publishing platforms out there. These are just a few. Amazon KDP, by far probably the most popular. Ebook and print on demand services reaches a vast global audience through Amazon's marketplace, available in several countries. Ingram Spark, I've used Ingram Spark. They tend to be slow to print their books, but they do have a very extensive distribution network. They reach over 39,000 retailers, libraries, and online stores. So if your book is on Ingram Spark, you can then get your book to other distribution locations through Ingram. And again, they may have it's been probably a year or two since I've used Ingram Spark. Maybe now things are a little bit, but it was actually, yeah, it was during the pandemic. Ingram really kind of fell off. And that's been a few years. So maybe now they've kind of gotten everything together and they're not as slow. And their site was a little bit clunky. Again, it could be very much improved by now. But the last time I used it, I guess it would have been a couple of years ago during the pandemic. Smashwords, I'm not really familiar with Smashwords. It's just another option for ebook publishing and distribution to various retailers and libraries. Draft to Digital, again, provides services, manage, distribute ebooks to various retailers. It simplifies publishing. It's a pretty well-known, pretty popular platform. And then finally, Barnes & Noble Press offers self-publishing services for both print and ebooks, targeting the Barnes & Noble marketplace specifically. And those are just 5 examples. There are other publishing platforms that you might look into. And again, in the workbook, there are links and some additional information about those platforms. And then building your author platform is essential. For the self-published author, you want to connect with readers, promote your books, and establish a lasting online presence within the literary community. So what does that mean? And I'm just curious in the chat, do all of you have websites? Do you have platforms that you have established? I'm just very curious. I do not, because I do not enjoy building websites. I just don't have the time or the inclination to build my own website. So I do not have an author website. So even though I know it's important to establish that presence online, my books are kind of located on various other platforms. Okay, and I just wanted to, before I go through the author platform information, I just want to go back to Mary's. I will have cheerful colors for my 3rd book, no black and white. Covers of all could be colorful and in the same sense. I think that's a great idea, Mary. I think play with that and see what you come up with, but I can see that really being just a great little set of books. I think that would be awesome. And I think it's really, again, I'm in the mental health publishing arena, and I think there aren't enough books for kids on topics such as grief. I think that's incredibly important. I am not, my expertise, unfortunately, is not in producing children's resources. I primarily create resources for adolescents and adults. So I wish I had the skills to produce children's resources. I think it's vitally important, especially in the mental health arena, especially on a topic like grief. I think you could really have a big hit with this series. I think it's a wonderful idea. And Janice says, I entered late. I'm sorry. So chat began when I entered. What group can I get linked to workbook? That Ty will have to let you know which group. I believe it's your member area, but he will have to clarify that. Yeah, and the link is in the chat for the workbook. Ty put it in a couple of different times I saw. So maybe once if he's on board, he can re-enter that link so that way you won't have to scroll all the way up. So Marianne, you have a website. That's great. Joe, I think says he has a website. Nora has a website. Um, okay. Yeah, and Lindley said, I think this is a great idea. You could do rainbow colors. Yeah, I think that would be a beautiful plan. I really love that. I think that sounds amazing. Okay, so building your author website, you're going to want to choose a memorable domain name such as www.yournameauthor.com. So I would say www.angiedoleauthor.com or Angela Dole. I prefer Angie, but all of my books are published under Angela. So it would probably be angeladoleauthor.com if I were to purchase that domain. And again, there you can buy hosting and domains on any number of sites. But you want to get that URL. I would get your name. Just for example, I own angiedole.com, angeladole.com. I own a couple of versions of my own name. You want to purchase your name, purchase a couple of different URLs. There are plenty of websites to purchase the domain and or hosting. You want a reliable hosting service that offers good performance and support. Your website design, again, I have built so many websites and I really don't enjoy building websites, so I'm not going to give anybody any any advice about what site to use. But there's WordPress, there's Wix, there's Squarespace, there's many user-friendly website building platforms. You're just going to want to include key pages like your homepage, an about page, a blog, perhaps if you want to write, little updates. You could include a blog. A blog is great, if you just want to provide your audience with maybe book news, little, chapters you could add to your blog. You want a contact page and then perhaps a newsletter sign up page as well. If you are going to be building a list and reaching out to that list, you are going to want a sign up somewhere on your site. A lot of people say it's kind of old school to build a list and send emails, but I still think personally that I think email is still relevant. I know we're all inundated with lots and lots of email. I'm on a lot of authors lists, so I get a lot of author emails. I do think it's still relevant. And I think it's a good way to stay connected with your audience. Of course, the social media. But I think an e-newsletter, there's a couple of authors, I always open their emails and because I'm always looking for updates when they're going to publish next. Maybe there's a sample chapter. And I personally enjoy receiving those emails, but it could be a generational thing. Perhaps the 20-somethings, 30-somethings, younger people are not interested in opening emails and reading about their favorite authors. I don't know, but that's my personal preference. I do enjoy and I still do suggest, building a list because I think there's something to be said for that. Let's see. So on your about page on your site, you'll share a little blurb about yourself, a little biographical paragraph. You may talk about your writing journey, any personal touch to connect with your readers. I mean, a lot of authors I follow, they share pictures of their families, they share recipes. There's a couple of Southern authors I follow, so they will share regional events if they're doing book signings. So all of this information can be on your website. It can be shared in a newsletter. And again, I think there's something to be said for, reaching out to your audience in that fashion. You'll also want a page on your website listing all of your published books with their descriptions, cover images, purchase links, and reviews. Your blog, you may regularly update it with posts about your writing process, book updates, industry insights, other topics of interest that your readers, this is very specific depending on your genre, what your readers are interested in, and a contact page, which is a way for your readers to get in touch with you, whether that's through a contact form, email, or your social media links. And then you're going to want to make sure that your website is optimized, of course. And again, I'm not a professional. I know it's important to increase your website's visibility using relevant keywords, optimizing meta tags, and creating really high quality content. That's essential. Otherwise, your website will be lost in the many billions of websites that are out there. And And then make it easy for visitors to subscribe to your email list if you choose to do that. You could offer incentives like free chapters, short stories, exclusive content, a coupon code for a discount if they purchase a book directly on your site. Some authors sell mugs, t-shirts, keychains, bookmarks. I've received free bookmarks from a lot of authors that I follow. Just, little things that, make you memorable, make you kind of stand out. It doesn't even have to be, expensive. It could just be something that, really, when your readers think about you, it kind of warms their heart because they've got that kind of personal touch, that connection with you. Okay, so let's see. So there are lead magnets, the sign up form could be placed on your website, blog posts, social media profiles. You just make it simple and quick. If you don't have the time to do it, you can hire somebody to do this for you. If you do send a newsletter, make sure you are consistent and send regular emails to your audience with engaging content, any updates. You just want to do it consistently. It doesn't have to be every week or even every month, but just kind of put it as part of your marketing plan that you're going to do. You're going to send a newsletter every 2 weeks or once a month. You may make book recommendations. You may have personal anecdotes, recipes. Like I said, it really depends on your genre and your audience. Social media, which can be a full-time job in and of itself, honestly. You're going to want to focus on very specific platforms where your target audience hangs out. And I imagine you guys have already had training on this. There's X, which used to be Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Goodreads, Pinterest. I'm in a book club, and all of the members, including myself, we all kind of hang out on Goodreads. That's a really, great place to kind of find new readers. There's a lot of contest drawings for free books on Goodreads. I'm sure you're probably all pretty familiar with Goodreads. You create a content strategy. So you're going to share a mix: book updates, personal insights, writing tips, promotional posts, interactive content like polls, Q&A sessions. You might do a Facebook Live. Just use a lot of visuals. That's where your compelling book cover comes in. Use a very, professional looking author photo, infographics. There's lots of different things that can really make your content stand out. Again, that's a whole other training in and of itself. And you can always hire professionals if you don't want to take this on yourself, because it is very time consuming to spend time on social media and do it kind of the right way, and efficiently as well, without wasting a lot of time. You'll want to post regularly to keep your audience engaged. You'll create a content calendar to plan out and schedule your posts. And be sure that you respond to comments, that you're checking your inbox, your messagings, because you may receive direct messages. Like I said, this is a whole other kind of training itself. I just wanted to go over it very quickly. You'll engage with your followers by responding to comments, messages, mentions. You can participate in relevant discussions and support other authors. I know a lot of authors kind of get together and do book promotions, and so they do drawings, they do all kinds of events together, and that's a lot of fun. Readers love that kind of thing, where you can run promotions and giveaways to attract new followers, reward your existing audience. You can give away free books, signed copies, exclusive content, like I said, like just bookmarks, postcards, that kind of thing. And then finally, use analytic tools that are provided on all the social media platforms to track your performance, understand what content resonates most with your audience. And it's always a good idea to look at the numbers, see what's working and what's not working. And in the workbook, I included a pretty lengthy guide with a step-by-step instructions, including all of this information, how to upload your book to different platforms. I also included royalty structures, which are subject to change, so do your research. So what the information I provided is kind of what I hope is current, but I'm sure a lot of that royalty information it's probably subject to change anytime. Okay, so let's go on, and let me just check the chat real quick. Okay, Mary has a website. Janet says, I can't scroll the chat before I entered. Ty, can you enter it again? Sorry. Okay, I'm sure we'll ask him when he pops back on at the end, if he could enter that link again. Sharon says, I will write children's books of animal stories. They will teach children and they have values, build their self-esteem, even if they're different. I love that, Sharon. That is phenomenal. Again, yep, and there's the workbook. Thank you, Sharon, for posting that. Or I'm sorry, Susan posted the link. It's Susan Peters posted the link to the workbook. Thank you. And Sharon, again, as I said before, I think any type of resource book, especially for children, I think it's so important. And there are some out there, but I'm a big encourager of children learning to love to read at an early age. I encourage parents to read to their children. I think dealing with tough topics, like confidence, self-esteem, grief, all of these topics, I think they are so well dealt with in a good book. And it can really, again, encourage the love of reading. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Okay, so are bookmarks mailed in the physical post, Lindley? Yes, I've gotten physical bookmarks mailed to me. I've also seen authors create digital bookmarks. So on a platform like Canva, you could there's templates you can use to create bookmarks. But I've received a lot of bookmarks in the physical post. So, and again, those have been from authors located in the United States, because it is expensive, to mail to other countries oftentimes, so it would be cost prohibitive. But I have received a lot of physical books, bookmarks, postcards from authors within the United States in the physical post. The thought of a newsletter and connecting and responding seem overwhelming to me. Yes, Mary, it can be very overwhelming. It's a lot. And like I said, this can be a full-time job. It takes a lot of time. And I only know that because I'm very familiar, and in some of the various projects I've done a lot of social media posting, a lot, just I know the ins and outs of it, of building a website, of doing all this stuff. I create newsletters. But it's a lot. It's a lot for one person to do. And somebody who is a more well-known author, and that's what they do for a living, they have a whole team of people that are basically doing it for them. So it's not one person that's trying to manage and juggle all of these different elements. These are just suggestions. And in no way would I expect you all tomorrow to come up with a plan to implement each and every one of these pieces, because it's a lot, and it can get overwhelming. But that's why Ty is here, his group, these trainings, this community is a supportive community to share information, and you can take it or leave it, and you can do what feels most comfortable. Like I said, personally, I'm not going to sit and build a website. It's just not a good use of my time. But someone else, in this group may love building websites, and they really enjoy the process of building their own author website. And that's phenomenal. That's awesome. Okay, so I'll just close that down, and we're going to wrap up here pretty soon. I really appreciate you guys hanging in here, and I appreciate your comments and questions. It's just been such a pleasure connecting with you all. I need to join this community myself, because I really think I really have such a warm feeling from you all, and I just appreciate you spending your Saturday night with me. So finally, we are going to talk about launching. This is after you've published your book. So there's the pre-launch, the launch day, and post-launch. And again, there's a lot of information that goes into launching your book. I was invited to a book launch. It happened Thursday night. It was a huge to-do. It was an online event where it was a book that just came out this week, and it was a group of authors. One of the authors is a friend of mine. I didn't go to the book launch, just because I had planned on it, but it was basically a party to launch the book. And all of the authors showed up, and they answered questions, and they had giveaways, and it was just probably a really cool event. So something like that is what you could do on your launch day. But first, we're just going to kind of quickly go through the pre-launch. The purpose of a pre-launch is to generate excitement and anticipation for your book before it's published. So you might do a cover reveal. You might, let me just let someone in. You want to capture the interest of potential readers to build momentum leading up to launch. I get a lot of emails that say cover reveal, and I typically delete those emails because I know that that's a popular thing to reveal the cover prior to launch. But For me, because my time is very valuable, I'm not necessarily interested in seeing a cover prior to launch, but that is something that authors do frequently do. So a tip is, if you want to do something like that, if you feel like your audience would be receptive, you could create a visually appealing cover and accompanying graphics, and use a countdown counter to the reveal date to engage your audience with teasers and hints. Again, this is something that's commonly done. I'm, like I said, personally, that's not something that really excites me, but I think it must be exciting to some of our readers out there, because it's a very popular way of building the momentum up to the launch. Advanced reader copies, we kind of talked about that. That's to obtain early reviews and endorsements. So if you want positive reviews to build credibility, provide social proof to potential readers, and we know how important reviews are on Amazon, you could send your advanced reader copies with the promise that those readers are going to then leave you a review on some website like Goodreads. On Amazon, they changed the rules a couple years ago, I think, where the reader must buy the copy of the book on Amazon for the review to really kind of be verified, I guess. It's a verified review now. So you can't just give an ARC to a reader and tell them to go place that review on Amazon. It's just, and I think Amazon did that purposefully, but there are other sites, such as Goodreads, such as other websites that they could certainly post the reviews on. Amazon, again, has, different rules, and different websites do have different rules. You could also send those ARCs to book reviewers, bloggers, influencers. You could use platforms like NetGalley is one. There's a couple of other ones. I included links in the workbook to reach a really broad audience of reviewers. And again, there's a whole bunch of them out there. Set a clear timeline for your ARC distribution and review submission. So encourage your reviewers to post their reviews on launch day. And so you're going to want to send your review copy out, giving your readers enough time to actually read the book, and then they'll be ready by launch day to actually post their reviews. Let's see, your author website, social media preparation. You can ensure your online presence is ready to support the launch, putting everything up on your website, all your social media profiles.
Angie?
Oh yeah, go
Do you
ahead.
mind if I'm gonna jump in really quickly, right? You just talked about reviews and the importance of reviews.
Mhm.
I just got back. I've been listening for like the last 5 or so minutes. I've been in and out, and I'm looking at the chat box, and I saw where people are leaving you reviews. So I don't know if you got a chance to see that or
Oh
not,
no, I
but
haven't. I
which
haven't.
is really cool. So, folks, as you guys know, when we have guests, right, that come into the community, we like to let them know how much we value them. So if you are okay with it, go in and leave some kind words about this presentation. You can leave a testimonial if you want, but only if you're okay with us also sharing it, right? So if you're okay with us sharing it on our websites or on our marketing material, or you're okay with sharing your words and your name, go in and let Angie know what you think of this training so far. And here's a few, Angie. I'll read them off really quickly. So Elizabeth Estrada says your information is so valuable. Thank you for sharing your expertise. Let's see. Mary says you're wonderful. Thanks for your presentation. Cheryl says this has been a great use of my night. All right. Lindley says you're doing a wonderful job, clear, passionate, and attentive. Thank you, Angie. So, guys, go ahead. Let Angie know what you think of the presentation so far. And Angie, there you go. I just wanted to jump in because I got a feeling that you didn't see those in the chat box.
I didn't, and I thank you so much, you guys. That really warms my heart, and I really appreciate the feedback. And again, if there's any criticism, feel free to give me valuable feedback, because this is I've taught classes, but I'm not, again, this is not my area of expertise, and I really do appreciate the feedback. But this is a topic that I'm so passionate about, so it's very easy for me to support other writers, because you guys are kind of my tribe. We're all kind of in this together, and any information that I can share that's helpful and valuable is great. So thank you everyone, and we'll get this wrapped up. And again, I appreciate your time. And let's see. So Let's see. Okay, so we talked about updating the author website, using the engaging visuals, consistent branding across your platforms to create and create a content calendar. And Mary mentioned that this is an overwhelming process. So there is kind of a way to structure this so that it doesn't become like, oh my gosh, I have to post on such and such site at 10 a.m. and like create a calendar, plan your posts. You know, there's plenty of websites that you can use to plan your posts. You can again, I I have done a lot of social media posts, and I would sit on a Sunday afternoon and spend a couple of hours and just create a whole bunch of posts with whether and again these were for psychologists that I would do this for, but you know, and in that case I would do like a whole bulk group of posts, so then I'm not every day sitting down and doing one post a day. So if you take a couple of hours in Canva, you could just do a dozen, 2 dozen posts, so that way they're ready. And again, this is something you could hire somebody to do. You can do it yourself. You know, it's really up to you how much you want to do, if at all. You know, this may be something you're just like, I don't have the time, or I'm too overwhelmed by it. I'm not going to even do it. But it's a suggestion. An email marketing campaign builds anticipation among your email subscribers. So keep them informed and excited about your launch. You can send a series of emails leading up to the launch, including the cover reveal, ARC announcements, and exclusive content. So you might share a chapter, the first chapter of the new book. You can offer pre-order incentives to encourage early purchase. And I'm sure you've all seen pre-order this book and you receive this bonus and that bonus. A lot of authors do that, and they generate sales before the book even launches, and they build their list. And again, a lot of more well-known authors do this, and it really does kind of get people excited for the launch of the new book. Okay, so always, and again, always personalize your emails, provide value to your subscribers so that they want to open your emails. Use very compelling subject lines, a clear call to action, you know, all of these kind of basics that I'm sure you've, you know, had trainings on in the past. You can also create visuals and multimedia content to attract attention, like a book trailer. You can produce short, high quality videos, share it on your website, social media. You can share it on YouTube, create teaser images, videos that share leading up to the launch. Again, this is a little bit of a more advanced skill, but if you know somebody that's really, you know, savvy that can create some launch videos for you, by all means, you know, maybe they can help you out. You keep the trailer concise and engaging. You highlight the book's key themes, any hooks, use professional tools, or hire a designer to ensure high production quality. And again, this is kind of a more advanced tech skill. So on launch day, you'll officially announce the book's release. You'll encourage immediate purchases. Send an email that day to your subscribers announcing the launch. You'll post announcements on your website, all the social media platforms. You can include your direct purchase links. So if you're selling your book on multiple platforms, include all those links. Make it really, really easy for readers to purchase your books, to find the book. Highlight special offers, bonuses for early buyers. And again, just have a really engaging, compelling message. And then the day of the launch, you can also maximize your visibility on social media, schedule multiple posts throughout the day. You can use hashtags, tags, mentions to reach a broader audience. Again, this is a whole other class, how you can utilize social media. You can do a virtual launch party, like I mentioned earlier. My friend had a big virtual launch party Thursday night for a book that was just released. And you can interact with your readers in real time. You could even do a Facebook Live. You could go live on YouTube, Instagram. You know, there's a lot of platforms now where you can just show up, go live, talk about your book, answer questions, and do giveaways. And it's just, again, it's just a way to kind of engage with your readers and get them excited about the release of the book. Okay, and then you could even get additional media coverage to increase awareness. You could send a press release to relevant media outlets, book bloggers, influencers. In the workbook, I have 2 templates of how you can reach out for featured articles to bloggers. There's 2 email templates, so you know exactly what to say to pitch to whoever you're reaching out to. And finally, then the promotional offers incentivize the purchase to attract new readers. You could offer discounts, bundle deals. So if you publish multiple books, you could offer like a bundle deal. You could offer exclusive content. There's all kinds of, just, be creative. There's all kinds of ways that you can kind of make the launch an exciting event. Okay, and then post-launch, there we go. And this is our final slide. I appreciate everyone hanging in there. Really, after you launch your book, it's just about showing appreciation to your readers, to your supporters, maintaining engagement, to just keep people engaged, interested in hearing from you. Just post, messages of gratitude for everyone that purchased your book. You can do this on social media. You could send an email. Any reviewers that might have given you feedback, you would want to send them an email or personally thank them. Any influencers who supported the launch, and just make the messages really personalized and heartfelt. Share any positive feedback or reviews, any milestones that you achieved. You can continue to build social proof and credibility for your book by encouraging readers to leave reviews. Reviews are very important, as we've talked about on Amazon, Goodreads. There's other platforms, and I've included links again in the workbook. You can follow up with your ARC reviewers to ensure that their reviews are posted. So if you have reviewers that promise to post a review for you in exchange for the free book they received, follow up with them. Let them know that, oh, I'm just, wanting to check in to see, make sure you posted your reviews. And just, again, offer on it like incentives for honest reviews. You could do a giveaway for your reviewers, or give them exclusive content, but just make it easy for readers to leave reviews. And you want them to be honest reviews, of course. Give them direct links, how to review on certain sites. Just give them the link to, if your book's on Goodreads, for example, give them the link to the page where they can leave their review. And then you would want to plan ongoing promotion, a series of promotional activities, such as being a guest blogger. You could do a podcast interview, social media campaigns. I mean, the sky's the limit. It's really a matter of who you can connect with, network with. You may go participate in a book fair, do a group author event, even an online book tour. We know a lot of, more well-known authors, oftentimes in the summer, I'm receiving emails, where I'm on a book tour, I'll be at such and such a bookstore. That's still very common. And then engage with your audience, build that loyal reader base so that they're looking forward to your next book. Create a community around your books, around your work. Continue to interact with your audience through social media, your newsletters, any online forums that you can participate in, and just share updates about your writing process. Because your readers, in a way, unlike other, kind of areas of work, I think readers think they know the author. They get to know the characters. They really feel a connection with these people that are producing the books that they love so much. And I know for me, when I get lost in a book and it's by one of my favorite authors, I'm just so grateful, that someone so creative can produce a book that I can just get lost in, and that I look forward to the next book that he or she publishes. It's such an incredible experience. So I think creating that community with your readers is so important, because like I said, I feel like there is more of a heartfelt connection, and your readers really do get to know you through your work. Yeah, so let me see. I think, is there anything else I wanted to, other than just being authentic and responsive, creating opportunities for your readers to engage with you, such as book club discussions, writing challenges, even fan art contests. There's a lot of creative things you can do. And then finally, you'll analyze and you'll learn from the launch experience. How successful was it? What are areas for improvement? Look at your sales data, the website analytics, all the social media engagement metrics. Check in with all of that. Collect feedback from your readers. Use those insights to refine your strategies for future launches. You document what worked well and what maybe didn't work so well, and you just build a plan for your next book. And did anybody have any other questions? So in your workbook, I've included a number of additional tips and suggestions for utilizing online and offline marketing tools. Again, that's a class by itself. And ways to optimize your distribution strategy and maximize discoverability. Again, that's a class in and of itself. There are certainly aggregators. And again, I've included lots of links. You guys can dig into this and look into it deeper. But it's a lot of dense information. There are ways you can utilize online and offline tools and optimize your distribution strategy, because we know, I mean, anybody can publish a book these days. And so in order to stand out in the crowd, there are lots of resources and tools you can actually utilize to stand out, to maximize the discoverability, so that your book isn't just one of millions that doesn't really sell. There are tips, tools, and techniques, and that's why you're part of this community, that you can learn these skills to make your chances of success even greater. And then anyone that has any final questions, just put them in the chat. And again, I want to thank you all for attending and participating in tonight's class. I really do hope that this information helps you in your self-publishing journey. And again, if Ty shares my contact information, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions. And thank you all for these comments. This is wonderful. I really do appreciate it. This is really, really awesome. And if there are any other questions, oh, this is great. Oh, Mary, my book, The Frailty of a Butterfly, My Journey Through Newborn Loss, was published a year ago, but I didn't do any marketing. Book is not doing well. Is it too late to market it? Absolutely not. It is not too late. I have a friend, and she published a book, and I actually edited the book, and it was a difficult, challenging project. She published her book a couple years ago. She is still actively going on radio shows, going to networking groups locally. Her book is very much a local, regional focused book. She lives in Maryland, and it's very, very specific to her region. So she's gotten a lot of radio shows, networking events. She's spoken at the libraries and bookstores in her area. But this book was published at least, gosh, 2 to 3 years. Yeah, about 2.5, 3 years ago now. So it's not too late. And again, it is such a specific kind of process to do the marketing and promoting of a book that you might reach out to, for example, this is My Journey Through Newborn Loss. I would suggest you reach out to like bereavement groups for parents. There's lots of different groups you could reach out to. You could speak, you could offer to speak, you could offer to send a copy of a book to someone to review. That, there are very many specific things you could do, Mary, to promote this book, even if it was published a year or two ago. And you're very welcome for the workbook. Like I said, it's got a lot of links and details that I didn't want to just jabber at you guys. It would have made this training a lot longer. There is a Miami Book Fair annually. Yes, there. Thank you for the overwhelming information. I don't want anyone to feel overwhelmed. It's a step-by-step process, and there's so much support in the community. There's lots of different resources available. So and we did cover a lot of information in this training. Each and every topic could have been its own training, and personally, I think it's easier to do it in chunks and break it up so that it's not so overwhelming. But the Miami Book Fair, there are book fairs all over, so you can connect with those book fairs. Like I said, a lot of authors connect with their local libraries. I live in North Carolina, and we have a wonderful library system, and I know a lot of like newer authors will, they do virtual discussions. So it's a Zoom talk. A lot of them do in person, and they do it through our library system. And it's free, it's just such a great way of exposing, getting some exposure, showing people that you're a published author. There's lots of things. Would you share your contact details with us, Angie, please, your email? Yes, I can actually just, whoops, I can type that in the chat. All right. All right, there's my email. So, and you're very, very welcome. I'm just going to go to our final slide. So Who needs help with writing, finishing, publishing, marketing, and or selling their books? Kindle books, audiobooks, physical books, digital courses, and other digital content. So this is Ty's information that he's shared, and I'm just kind of going to go through. Being able to follow in the footsteps of people who have already done what you want to do can help you achieve your desires more efficiently. So someone like Ty, others in this community, myself, we've got a lot of knowledge and experience that we can share, walk you through step by step. And Ty has a very specific program. With that said, we put together a step-by-step program designed to provide you with the tools and resources you need to overcome common publishing obstacles. And it is a wonderful idea to do it as a course, or to do it as again, in kind of bite-sized chunks, step by step, so that you are not overwhelmed. And it's called the Kindle Cash Flow Program. Let's see. Everything you need to potentially write, finish, publish, market, and sell any type of book or digital content is included in the Kindle Cash Flow Program. To get started, just type in writerslife.org/smart in your browser. And again, that's writerslife.org/smart. Just type that. And this online program, you have as much time as you need. It's self-directed, so you can take your time working through it. Again, to get started, just type in writerslife.org/smart into your browser. You'll have immediate access to this online program. The Kindle Cash Flow Program can potentially help you finish, publish, market, and sell any type of book in any genre, including Kindle books, audiobooks, physical books, digital courses, and other digital content on a platform that millions of buyers visit every month. And there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, which is fantastic. And to get started, again, writerslife.org/smart. Type that into your browser. Once again, here's how you can join the program. And we'll just leave this up. I think this is our final, I believe this is the final screen here. Let's see.
Actually, I think it might be the next one, Angie, the next screen.
Oh, is it the next one? Okay. I was just going to check the chat just to check on any other questions. Oh, there we go. There was one more. Thanks so much again for listening, and I'll keep this slide up for a few minutes. So sorry, Ty. I was just going to look at the chat. I think there was one more question.
Yeah, I think so. And you guys can find out. We've got other events as always. Joanne, I know a lot of you guys are always on our different events. Mary, Sharon. So you can find out which other events are taking place, when, and what the topics are by going to writerslife.org/events. All right. And then, Angie, it looks like you've got more feedback as well.
Yes, and I just wanted to answer this question for Sharon. Are there any resources for writers who are challenged with reading and writing? So, Sharon, I mean, I think in a situation like that, there are certainly resources, and you might want to consider hiring a coach or working with someone. I have a good friend. She's been writing her memoir for the last couple of years, and she works with a coach once a week, and she struggles with dyslexia. She has some other, learning issues. She's been working on this book for a couple of years, but she meets with her coach weekly. So this is a woman I know, she does have some challenges, but she is getting the book done. And she's hired someone to support her and hold her accountable, because accountability is the key. And she meets with her coach once a week, and they're getting it done. And she will be a published author. And she is not a native English speaker. She's going to be writing her book in English, and she's getting it done. So there's definitely resources out there. There's a way to kind of overcome challenges that you may feel that it's insurmountable, but there's support and help out there for you. And again, I'm sure Ty can connect you with plenty of resources, with coaches. So, all right. Yes, everyone have a great weekend. Happy writing. Thanks, Marianne, for that comment. And thank you all again for the wonderful comments. I had a wonderful time sharing this information with you. And I guess for now, we are all set. And I'll go ahead and take my leave. Thanks again, everyone. And reach out. You have my email address. Reach out if you have any questions or follow up.